Hello, this is Mr. Chabry, and we are here with another narrated Pokemon battle. So this is going to be a battle against Gold Carrot, and Gold Carrot asked for an OU battle. Of course, some of his Pokemon are in lower tiers, but we're going to still see if we can have ourselves a really good battle here. I'm going to lead off with Zapdos. Looking at my opponent's team, Zapdos is the best lead. It can handle pretty much everything my opponent has. It does have a harder time with the Crocodile, but I think I should be okay. Of course, my opponent leads off with the Crobat, and I'm just going to go for a Discharge, even though I know the Crocodile is there. If I get a Paralysis on Crobat, it would be worth it. So I'm going to go for the play, just go for a Discharge. Of course, it's not going to even touch Crocodile, so I'm going to have to switch out. Zapdos is too important for my team to just, let take a nasty Stone Edge. So I'm going to go into my Pex here, expecting the Stone Edge, and clearly, yeah, the Stone Edge is coming. So yeah, I don't want to stay in, though, because Earthquake is probably coming next. So I'm going to go into Superior here, basically making some pivot plays, trying to get a Pokemon in here that can threaten out this Crocodile. Of course, Earthquake's not going to do that much to our Superior. Superior has really good bulk, and it resists Earthquake. So I really love this Pokemon. Like you've seen in previous videos, if someone's not careful facing down a Superior, it can set up and get a sweep pretty early. But here, my opponent's going to go ahead and switch back into Crobat. I'm going to predict a switch, and just go for a Leech Seed. I think that's the safest play, really. So that way, we can get some health back. Plus, I knew that a Leaf Storm wouldn't really touch Crobat that much. And honestly, it wouldn't do that much to the Metagross if it were to come in. Here I'm going to go ahead and switch out, bring back out the Toxapex, trying to get a successful pivot here, where I can actually set up some hazards and stuff. So I'm going to go Pex. Pex takes that Leech Life like a champ. Leech Life barely even scratches the insane defense of the Pex. And on top of that, we're actually going to be back to full health with the Leech Seed, with the Black Sludge. So here, my opponent's going to go ahead, make another switch, and go back into the Crocodile. My opponent really wants to threaten out my Pex with this Crocodile because, honestly, it's one of the best things that my opponent has for my Toxapex. I'm going to go ahead and get some spikes up. I would love to get more spikes, but honestly, I am kind of nervous about this Crocodile. And here, I'm going to make the prediction that we can take a hit pretty well. I'm hoping that we can. And, of course, we don't. And the main reason is because of a crit. I knew, unless it was like Bandit or something, we should have been able to take it. But unfortunately, we get hit with a crit, and that's going to mean that we no longer have our beautiful Pokemon that's bulky as sin. So now I'm going to go into my Superior here. Superior scares out the Crocodile, but honestly, it doesn't do much more than that because Crobat easily just comes in on this thing. So I'm going to have to make a switch into something to threaten the Crobat, and that's mainly the Zapdos, really. Zapdos is a really good bulky Pokemon. It can take hits really well. This is at my defensive Zapdos as well. And, of course, it's going to get some health back onto it. But, honestly, that's not the worst thing. Just because, like I said, Zapdos is very bulky. And here my opponent's going to make the switch back into the Crocodile. And right here, I'm going to go ahead. Of course, it's going to be poisoned by those spikes. Unfortunately, I didn't get 2 layers of spikes, so it's just going to be normal, poison. Here I go ahead and just go for a Hidden Power Ice. Of course, it would have been super effective against Crobat, but the main thing is it actually hits the Crocodile. And looking at how much damage that does, it's kind of not enough for me to feel that comfortable. But with the poison damage, I'm going to go for it again and get the KO. We actually get a crit there. I'm not totally sure. I don't think it mattered because we saw how much damage it did. But really, that poison there ended up helping us out. So now the Metagross comes out. And here, my opponent actually brought Mega Metagross, even though he asked for an OU match. I'm not going to hold that against him. He probably doesn't realize that Mega Metagross is actually an Uber. But we're going to still try to face this thing down. I'm just going to Heat Wave this thing right into the face, and Metagross takes that really well. This just shows you how bulky Metagross is. There's a reason Metagross is actually in Ubers. It's got good bulk, good attack, and actually good speed. It has no real drawbacks. Mainly its main drawback might be its typing, if anything, but it has like coverage moves. Yeah, that's why Metagross exists in the land of Ubers. And here, I don't really have a good switch in to this thing. So I'm going to actually have to let Zapdos go down, which actually bites. I'm going to go into my Greninja now, and Greninja is honestly a really good Pokemon to face down this thing, especially with this Dark Pulse incoming. We're just going to take it out, and this is actually my Battle Bond Greninja. I love Battle Bond Greninja. It gets a really good special attack boost, really good speed boost. This thing is so powerful, and my Greninja often carries the Choice Specs too, which that's what it's carrying right now. So it's going to do more damage. Now my opponent sends out the Mimikyu, and of course it's got the Disguise. I can't hit it right now. I would have to break the Disguise, so I'm actually going to go into Excadrill here. I do have the Mold Breaker, so that's going to bypass this thing's Disguise. Luckily for me, my opponent actually goes for a Trick Room instead of, you know, a Swords Dance or something like that. That could actually be a threat to me, and it's going to Shadow Claw, so yeah, it's going to actually try to do some damage. I do have the Sash on Excadrill, so I know I could take one right off the bat. So I'm just going to EQ, and that will not take out the Mimikyu. So unfortunately, this Mimikyu is going to be able to put a lot of damage on my Excadrill, which is very unfortunate. I need this thing to live, so that way I can take care of this Mimikyu. If I don't, and I lose my Excadrill, Mimikyu's still going to have that Disguise. Luckily for me, though, we live that hit, and we're able to take out the Mimikyu. Of course, Mimikyu was poisoned, but it looked like it might have been able to live one more turn of poison, so it's really good that we get rid of that thing. Now my opponent sends out his own Greninja. And like I said, Greninja often, there's like a lot of different sets that it can run. This one actually has the Protean, meaning it's going to be changing its type every turn. And it's going to go for a Water Shuriken for an easy knockout on my Excadrill. I feel really fortunate that it's not the Ash Greninja, because if it was, that would be kind of really bad for me. I'm going to go into my own Greninja, as we actually see this thing carries the Z move, and it's going to have the Waterium Z. Honestly, that doesn't bother me that much because, of course, my Greninja is a water type. It's going to resist this hit really nicely, but it still might do a lot of damage because Greninja actually has a really good special attack, and even Ash Greninja is pretty frail, so we're going to see how much it does, and Ash Greninja actually takes that very well. Better than what I thought it was. So we're going to just Dark Pulse this thing since it's no longer a Dark type. It's going to not resist it, and it's going to go down. And the good thing here is we're going to get rid of that Trick Room. Unfortunately, Crobat is still a very fast Pokemon. The good thing is Greninja is faster, so without that Trick Room, we're going to outspeed, and I get the Flinch. So that's actually very, very fortunate for me. We're able to get that Flinch, and we will take down the Crobat with the next turn. Unfortunately, for my opponent, but if we didn't get that Flinch, Greninja would have probably taken a nasty Leech Life right there. Now my opponent sends out his last Pokemon, the Banette, which honestly I thought Banette would be the Mega because, you know, normal Banette is not very good at all. Even with the Sucker Punch, it's barely going to even scratch my Greninja. So I just go Dark Pulse and finish off the puppet. So, good game there, Gold Carrot. It was actually a really close game there for a big part of it. I didn't really get to use the Mega that I've been wanting to use for a while, and that's actually Mega Pinsir. I love Mega Pinsir, and I want to get some use out of it. Of course, if you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I will see you in the next Pokemon video.